Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Natascha Pedersen and I am from Greenland. It's been a while. I want to start off with saying that this video is an ad for UNICEF Greenland. Thank you so much for UNICEF Greenland for making this opportunity for me to share a little bit of my trip to New Zealand and about this whole pandemic crisis that's been happening around. If you're a little bit sensitive about this whole situation or this subject, then don't watch. If you want to know about my trip to New Zealand and back with this whole pandemic happening, then please feel free to watch. I'm going to be doing this look, as you can see, and I'm going to be talking through my trip as I'm doing this look, which is not an easy thing because I don't know how to multitask once I start doing my makeup. So this is just a video dedicating to the youth and children in Greenland who may be going through a rough time during this pandemic, and maybe we are going to face another wave of people maybe bring it into Greenland once we open the borders again to Greenland from overseas. And with no further ado, let's just get into this look. I'm just going to start off with some eye primer to prime my eyes, and then I'm going to do the eye makeup first. I'm going to make sure to put all the details on the makeup I'm using into the description box below so you guys can see what I've used. So we went to New Zealand. I was going to be there for a month for some courses, and I also had a wedding I was attending as a bridesmaid. The couple that was getting married there, I only met with my friend's fiance. He was already there and she was arriving on the same week as my fiance, and we were hoping we would still be able to have the wedding because we were only on level 2. My boyfriend made it to New Zealand just before the close. I pretty much had to go back into a 2-week lockdown with him again, and we were trying to keep up with the news of what's going on around the world. So I was trying to keep up with what was going on here in Greenland as well as in Denmark, because the only way to get to Greenland would be either through Iceland or through Denmark. So I was going through Denmark, so I had to be up to date with what's happening there as well, also because my parents were there. So we just, made sure to go out and do grocery shopping, or I would do it, and we were just keeping a distance because we were the only 2 people living together in our Airbnb. We did a few walks into the park, just the 2 of us again, just, getting some fresh air and not staying so much indoors in our little tiny apartment. We only had the patio door as our window, so it wasn't a lot of sun that we were getting or fresh air, but thankfully we did have a patio that made a huge difference. And the reason why I didn't go home immediately when we were asked to go home was just because we were so unsure of what was happening. We were kind of okay with the fact that we were stuck in New Zealand, and we'll be fine being stuck in New Zealand instead of being in Denmark, because by the time if we arrived in Denmark, we wouldn't know if we had a place to stay. We couldn't stay with other people because we would be scared that we might be the ones who then bring that virus to them. So we didn't want to take any risk or do anything rushly. So we decided the safest thing was to just stay in that Airbnb place in New Zealand and just kind of wait it out and see if we did have any symptoms ourselves, and then we could plan out how we would be getting home once we know we were fine. Tickets from New Zealand to Denmark that were cancelled by the airline company, and then we had to purchase new ones. So we did that all on the last week of March going into April, and there were another couple from our hometown in Greenland who were also in New Zealand visiting a friend. So it's a whole big mess. We all know each other in some ways, so we were all just figuring out how we could be going together back home. So we were helping each other out and stuff. I think the worst part or the hardest part was to figure out how we're gonna afford this ridiculously expensive plane tickets back home to Greenland. So that was a huge mess. Thankfully we had a travel insurance, so they helped us tremendously throughout this chaos. From the Danish embassy, they were also major help. They were telling us and updating us on what's going on around the world. So they said Australia is closing the border, so there would be no transit for Australia. Thailand is closing their borders as well, Singapore, and so on and so on. So we were like really getting into this like moment. We were like, okay, we have to figure this out right now. So we decided just to buy tickets from Qatar Airways. When we were looking at the airplane tickets, they were like roughly around, I can't remember the number exactly in New Zealand or US dollars, but like in Danish kroner, it was like 30,000 to 50,000 per person, just going from New Zealand to Denmark. So that was crazy, and we were like stressing about that because we obviously didn't have that kind of money to travel back home, and if that was the only tickets left, then what would we be doing? We had a group of people on Facebook that were also talking about like cheap tickets that keeps popping up on their website. I think after the third time, that was when we were lucky to get the tickets for 14 per person. Still crazy expensive, but it was way better than having to pay 30 to 50,000 per person trying to get home and not knowing if we'll be reimbursed or not. So when we went to the airport, there were almost no one other than people from our airline that was flying. So we were actually a big group of people checking in for Qatar Airways going to Doha. And I will tell you, the plane was packed. There was no free seating, so all that keeping the distance and whatnot, that was just like not an option at all. But it was an 18-hour flight going from Auckland to Doha, so that was kind of rough. And we were wearing our masks for the entire trip. We had hand sanitizers with us. We had disinfecting wipes too, so we would just wipe everything on our seats. Just pretty much anything you would touch throughout your flight, and definitely not touching our face. By the time we had to go to our gate for the flight to Denmark, I think maybe we were like 20 or 30 people who were getting on that big plane. And by the time we arrived, there was literally no one, no other people on the airport. And then we just checked into our hotel and then waited out till we figured out when we could leave for Greenland. We would have to do a COVID-19 test. It would have to be negative before we could actually get an okay to fly back home anyways. So we took a test at one of their testing facilities. They luckily tested us from our mouth and not from the nose, which I've heard would be like super disturbing, and I don't really feel like getting anything up my nose. It went pretty quick, and then we just kind of moved on with our day. I actually met with the other couple who were also stuck in New Zealand. They left the day after us. It feels reassuring to know that there's another couple also going all the way home, so we don't really feel like we are alone in this. And people were actually really great at keeping their distance and staying at home and whatnot in New Zealand when we were there. I mean, I will show you a video of how the city was looking when we were going up towards the park from our Airbnb place. It was just insane. So we spent a week in Denmark, and we pretty much got a test the next day, as they mentioned to us, and it was negative. Personally, I think for us it was quite weird being in Denmark compared to what we were getting used to in New Zealand. And in Denmark, that was just crazy because we just saw so many people everywhere. It was so weird. And I'm not sure if they were still under lockdown. I think they were at the beginning of April when we arrived. They were supposed to be, but obviously essential workers went to work and whatnot. You'd think everyone was like not out. And there they were, hanging out and about on a Saturday afternoon. I shouldn't be having an opinion, but I'm just sharing my experience of my entire trip going home, and obviously I'm one of them as well, going around. And sure, I mean, people want to be at home, safe, should stay at home, obviously. And people who are willing to take a risk and go out and about, that's, you know, up to them, it's each their own. But here's the thing, like, who knows if they carry the virus or not? I mean, we don't know until it's too late, right? And then we accidentally might get someone sick. And if we get someone sick, we don't know if they'll be able to handle the virus or not. Finally got back home to Greenland, which was amazing, because then going home, we again had to do like home quarantine for 2 weeks. Even though we did get a negative test, it's still the safest thing to do is to stay home in quarantine until we are for sure that after 14 days that none of us had a symptom. So that's what we did. So it was nice just to come back to our own bed and stuff, and our dog and neighborhood. I think we've been pretty lucky with the entire trip, coming to New Zealand and back home without even catching on the virus. So that was really great. I mean, I think it did help a lot that we were just keeping constantly a distance from a lot of other people, and disinfecting everything pretty much has also helped. Like, as a makeup artist, I usually disinfect everything all the time before I start working on each model. I am used to wearing my face mask as well when I do nails, because I am also a full-time nail technician. Pretty much like having this makeup artist slash nail technician slash influencer lifestyle has kind of deprived me of any hobbies, just because I'm trying so hard to like balance all those three together. It gives me time to actually reevaluate what I really want to do with my time, and you know, future plans. We are planning to get married next year, so we try to do a little bit of wedding planning as well. Actually, during my trip, I was supposed to be out looking at wedding dresses and whatnot as well, just to have a look, because I actually don't really know what I want. So yeah, that didn't really go as planned. I think the hardest part about being self-isolated in your own home is that, you know, you have friends and family who wants to see you, but you can't see them. And I think my fiance had the hardest time about that, whereas I was a little bit more calm about the situation with not being able to see our friends and family. My boyfriend really wanted to go back to work as well, like physically out and working, and I totally understand that as well. I missed my customers a lot during the pandemic as well. So pretty much Greenland has opened all flights inland, but anything international is still not allowed yet, but apparently it will be in June maybe. So I am a little bit nervous and curious to see how that will play out once we open up borders again for overseas travelers coming in. They still have some people coming in now, working for the hospital and whatnot. Other people trying to get home who were stuck in Denmark. Hopefully other people will make sure once they arrive to Greenland, you know, to stay home for 2 weeks or whatever it is advised, and make sure to, you know, wash hands, keep the distance, no hugging. We like hugs here, but hopefully no hugging. And if you have any good ideas, or if you have had any experience you want to share with me or other people in this audience about this pandemic, what you've been doing, what worked for you, what has been a struggle for you, or whatever you want to talk about, you can feel free to either comment onto this video below in the comments, or you can use the hashtag #1minutbarit if you want to share a post about what you've been doing, and I'll check it out and see what you've been up to. And don't forget to take care of your physical and mental health as well. It's very, very important during this time. I think the best thing for me that has been for my mental and physical health is I do a little bit of exercise whenever I can at home, or I take very long walks with my dog or my fiance. And mental health wise, it's a great time to be listening to some podcasts or reading books, or I do yoga a lot whenever I have the time to do it. And otherwise I like to do a little bit of like guided meditation. There's a lot of great videos you can look into on YouTube, or there's some apps you can download that has guided meditation. It's actually really great to listen to if you have like certain feelings you're going through, or you don't really have anyone to talk to, and if anything, you're one phone call away from your friends and family. So definitely also take up on that opportunity if you have the option to do that. And thanks again to UNICEF Greenland for this opportunity to share with you my Get Ready With Me story of my trip to New Zealand and back. Okay, see you guys next time.